In Space Station 14, some suits are fireproof, and thankfully there's not very many suits that are actually properly fireproof, so they're easy to explain. The Atmos Fire Suit, the Atmos Hard Suit, the Chief Engineer Hard Suit, and the Syndicate Elite Hard Suit are the only suits in the game that are truly fireproof, meaning you could be engulfed in maximum flame stacks and you will not take burn damage from them. They're also naturally resistant to high pressure, but most suits are. That means every other suit in the game will not resist flame stacks. I think some admin ones like Death Squad and maybe Seaburn are fireproof, but those aren't normal. You don't see those in normal gameplay, so it's not worth like deep diving into them. So if I just open a little bit of plasma in here and start a fire, we will see that findings are true, meaning that these people at the bottom row will be totally fine. They're going to take some poison damage because I didn't give them oxygen, but we're going to start a little fire and we'll check back in just a few seconds. We can see the Juggernaut person is taking damage. They're not even fully engulfed in flames, surprisingly. Fire suit's taking damage. The security hard suit is getting obliterated, and the engineering hard suit is also getting obliterated. If we check all these other suits, you'll notice, yeah, they do not take any fire damage because they are fireproof. And the first ones are already dropping. You can see the fire suit and things like the jug suit are very resistant, but they're not immune. Their actual body temperature is not increasing. They are literally taking damage from the heat. So if they were to stop, drop, and roll or get out of the flames, they wouldn't die from it. So this isn't showcasing that, yes, you're going to be totally unstoppable if you follow this guide. No, certain hard suits will still have the chance of stopping you. Not many people are going to be walking around in fire suits. Even if they are, they're going to be hilariously slow. But this is just the beginning, and knowing which suits are fireproof and resistant or not can be helpful. In order to become a true fire lord, you must learn how to make flog. Flog is a combustion-like reagent that will set people on fire, and the act of mixing these reagents will make literal gas plasma in the atmosphere. The amount of moles it makes is depending on the exact reaction. So to make flog, you mix equal parts plasma, phosphorus, and sulfuric acid, so it's not that hard to make it at all. To get plasma, you can either just use a condenser on plasma if you have gas, like a gas canister. You can grind up plasma glass, shards, plasma itself, you name it. It's not hard to get at all. So we're mixing 10 plasma, phosphorus, and sulfuric acid. That'll make 30 moles of plasma. That is enough in a small area like this to make an insane combustion. And as far as I'm aware, this scales up infinitely. So if we were to mix in a blue space beaker 333 plasma, phosphorus, and sulfuric acid, we'd make 333 moles of plasma, which is enough to set the entire dev environment on fire pretty much. So with that knowledge obtained, something you can do is just immediately light a welding torch, for example, and that will start a plasma fire. No one would know you have this type of mix on you because you can mix it all in a beaker. You can mix it in a shaker, any cup. You don't even, it could be a literal drinking cup. You can just mix 10 units in. It's enough to set people on fire. And if you're using one of those fire immunity suits, like an elite hard suit, for example, if you're a syndicate or a nukie, you can make an area basically uninhabitable. So I'm just going to let this burn. And yes, this is an unrealistic example. It's a tiny room with no scrubber, but the temperatures get insanely hot very quickly. Just to showcase what mixing only 10 mixing 30 units of plasma can actually do. The dev environment in the main room does not have a scrubber, so this is again not a fully realistic example. But if you have like a lit cigarette or something in your mouth and you're running around with a fireproof suit, you can start spreading the fire pretty intensely. Anyone who walks in here will start catching on fire, and we're going to start ambiently heating up the room, so anyone who doesn't have any form of suit will start cooking. Yeah, the area right outside the fire is not super hot. Again, this is only 30 units of plasma, but it's still burning, which is still increasing the heat of the room. This is a giant room, so like obviously parts away from the fire are not quite heating up yet, but that was just a small example. So this is 99 units, which is as much as you can fit in one large beaker. Again, you could just mix this multiple times across multiple beakers, small beakers. We'll notice that the plasma spreads much further because there's more of it in the atmosphere. I would recommend if you're going to do this in a room, you calculate where the scrubbers are at, and you don't do it directly over a scrubber. But again, even with scrubbers, this will still heat up the room and be great for a distraction. So say like security's chasing you, or you're a nukie trying to lock down an area, or you're defending the nuke. Pretty much no one on the station other than Atmos and the chief engineer are going to be able to walk through this literal hellfire to be able to stop you. And even then, it can't see you in the fire, so they'd be shooting blindly. trying to stun you like a sec officer while they're on fire. They'll die before they can even really do anything against you. People who are on fire are going to stop, drop, and roll, which means they're going to drop their equipment or at least have to stow it. Fire is kind of like slipping in terms of combat. You can't really fight on lube. You can't really fight while on fire, even if you have the right suit. Those aren't great combat suits, but the elite suit is a great combat suit. So this is more of a syndicate strategy. But if you're an Atmos syndicate, you can save your TC and just use your fire suit. So we can see that this the burn has stopped. We actually produced tritium doing this, not a whole lot, but the temperature is immensely higher, and it's now spreading across the room to the point where people across this entire very large room are starting to take heat damage. And the scrubbers would work on this normally. There's no rooms like this in Space Station that don't have scrubbers, but this is just an indication of only 33 units of each mixing, making a fire that is making this giant room uninhabitable for anyone not in a proper suit. This is an incredibly powerful strategy. Something that's also worth mentioning is flog is inherently a flammable substance. If you splash flog on somebody directly, you will set them on fire, and that's only with 5 units. If I toggle the flammable amount, we can see that it does about, we can see that it actually gives a full fire stack and immediately ignites them. If you change your splash amount on the beaker that you just mixed in, you can actually engulf people entirely in flames with the beaker you use to mix. So not only can you start an ambient fire around you that absolutely obliterates anyone, you're also mixing a literal weapon. If you're a Nuki or somebody with a backpack water tank, you can squirt fire on people after you've already set the world on fire. And I'll just show the example live just so it's easier to understand. So say you're somebody wearing an elite hard suit and you just want to have a low smoke break. You don't even have to have a welder in your hand if you're smoking a cigarette. You could literally just put the cigarette in your mouth, smoking it with your elite hard suit, get your 2 beakers, and with the plasma phosphorus in one and the sulfuric acid in the other, it could be any mix. And I just have my transfer amount set to 50, so I'll transfer it in my hand, which will immediately start the fire because the lit cigarette will start the fire, and then your flame stacks will continue the fire further. Then I've already ignited people. I could keep running around spreading the fire through the plasma I'm on. I can literally touch people and transfer the fire stacks. It seems like transferring fire stacks is a little bit buggy, but that's okay. If I can't transfer it, I just made a literal handheld flamethrower. And I could have put this in like a spray nozzle, I could have put it in a fire extinguisher, you name it, or you just use the beaker or the shaker that's on, and you just splash people until they either ash or die. Again, there's not very many suits in the game that properly resist flames, and it's really, really hard to fight while on fire if you aren't in a flame resistant or proof suit. Even people in flame-resistant suits like a fire suit, or if you're fighting somebody with a jug suit, most people are still going to panic at knowing that they're taking damage and still stop, drop, and roll, which means on Wisden code and stuff, you can't fight while stunned or on the ground, and that's a really, really powerful equalizer. This is also incredibly good if you have a kill target and you're trying to ash them, because again, the flame stacks will eventually ash them. So be cautious about this. If you're not trying to permakill people, this can be a pretty good way to accidentally permakill people. But just word of warning that if you're going to be setting an entire room on fire, you probably want a reason to actually be killing those people. So as a Nuki or something, go wild. Yeah, I think this is a really cool strategy. Everyone knows about opening a plasma canister or something to start a fire. But normally when I see people make flog, I only see them use the flog part to actually use the flog to set people on fire. They don't actually use the plasma that's created to set people on fire. Anyway, that's enough pyrotechnics. Good luck burning people alive. This is a way to kill people without even firing a bullet or swinging a melee weapon, so I think it's really creative in that regard as well. Thank you for watching.